Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Hani and Gretchen Bakes. Each month I team up with the fabulous Haniella and we like to show you guys two different spins on the same idea. This month we picked a birthday cake theme. So for all of you celebrating birthdays in April, this one is for you. Be sure to watch to the end so that you can click through and check out Hani's amazing and unique design for a really cool looking birthday cake. And she is using her walnut vanilla cake recipe. Yum! But first, I want to show you my design for an easy beginner's birthday cake and a few tips on how to get smooth sides and various piping techniques with minimal tools and minimal skill.
Okay, so what do we need? Well, we need quite a lot of things to build a cake, right? First of all, you have to bake your cake, you have to make your icing, you have to make your filling, you have to think about the decorations that you're going to be using for this cake. So you want to kind of think out and design your birthday cake before you get started, obviously. Now, I'm going to pretend that this is the birthday cake for me, even though it's a little bit early. So of course, my cake is going to be chocolate. I am going to fill my layers with just a little bit of ganache, but when I cut it, I also think through to the cutting of the cake, right? Because not only do we want a stunning outside of the cake, but when we cut it, we sort of want everybody to go, ooh, wow, looks cool, right? So I'm also going to be putting a layer of buttercream as well as the ganache for my filling. So it's going to be a ganache buttercream filling, chocolate cake, Swiss vanilla buttercream icing, and I'm going to just show you guys some cool techniques, so feel free to do it or don't do it. Make whatever kind of cake you want. It is your birthday, or whoever's birthday you're making it for is typically what kind of cake you want to make, right? So I'll just show you like this horrible sketch that I do just to sort of design my cake so that I know really what I'm doing once I get started. There's nothing worse than getting into building a cake and then just like having no vision and no real idea of how you want it to look. So I always do sketch out my cakes ahead of time so that I have everything prepared and ready to go before I start. So that way you guys can see just how quick and easy it is to slap together a birthday cake. So the one thing that I want to do first, because I did make this Swiss buttercream yesterday, I want to get it back to a real nice smooth consistency with no air bubbles in it. So no matter if I made it just now or yesterday, I want to get it back on the machine and on low speed and just smooth it out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and then trim up my layers. Now, if you guys are part of my Best Baker Club, you will know a lot of these tips and tricks that I'm telling you right now. Like, for instance, getting that buttercream on the mixer to smooth it out, right? So if you're not part of the Best Baker Club, why not? Sign up. It's free. You're going to learn a lot. One of the most asked questions I get is how to trim down our cake layers so that they're all the most, so that they're both all even sizes for when we cut the cake, right? So serrated knife always. And basically what you're just going to want to do is kind of estimate where you want your cake. I mean, this is a pretty tall cake. I don't really want my layers to be exactly this size. So I'm just going to trim off the top there. And it's a sawing motion as I'm turning the turn stand. I'm not going through to the center. I'm just going maybe about 2 inches into the center as I'm turning, and I'm doing a little bit of a sawing motion. And once I get back to where I started, then I can go ahead and cut straight through to the center. And most often I do have a pretty straight layered cake after I've torted it. And you can see that this one baked really kind of lopsided. That had to do probably with my pan was a little bit dented. Maybe it was in a weird spot in the oven. So this one's going to take a little bit more work. And because it's smaller, I don't want to cut off so much because we do want to keep the layers all even. So for this one, I'm just going to really trim off that top. And don't throw away your scraps. I save everything. Stick them in a Ziploc bag, pop them in the freezer. You never know when you want to have like a garnish for the sides of your cake or just make cake pops. So that 5 minutes on low speed on the mixer with the paddle attachment really smoothed this out perfectly. So there's not going to be a lot of air bubbles in my buttercream, and it's just super silky to work with now. Not to mention it is the Swiss buttercream, which is awesome. Now I am going to be using all of the tips and pastry bags that I personally sell. I really don't use too much more than these few tips that are included in my cake kit. So if you guys want to check them out, definitely click here so that you can see exactly what it is that I'm selling. I just think it's really the highest quality, pastry bags especially, and the few tips that I just use them over and again for pretty much every project. Now, because this is my best moist chocolate cake, it's my favorite recipe on my whole entire blog, and of course it's chocolate. There's no need for simple syrup here. You could use it if you like to use simple syrup, but it's really not necessary here for this recipe. So we're just going to do a small buttercream dam because I don't want any of my filling to be sticking out the sides. And one other thing, if you're wondering why my cake looks kind of weird and like frosty, I do work with frozen cakes, and if you were part of my Best Baker Club, you would know that too. All the whys of why I do certain things, you guys will definitely become best bakers if you join my club. This is just a simple ganache recipe that has set to room temperature. Well, actually, I had it in the refrigerator overnight, so it's a bit cold still, but it is definitely spreadable. I love ganache as a filling in cakes. And I'm going hot pinky filling today. It's my birthday cake. I get what I want. Now it would be at this point, depending on your filling, like if you had like a chocolate mousse or a lemon curd or something that was super slippery, you may want to at this point stick it into the refrigerator just for about 10 minutes so that these buttercream dams will firm up before you go ahead and start your icing, because if you have too soft and slippery and you start icing this cake, forget about it. It's going to be a disaster. But my cake was pretty cold. My fillings were pretty sturdy, so I don't feel like I have to do that here. I am going to do a light crumb coating though. Now the thing about doing a crumb coating is that you don't want to add the excess buttercream with the crumbs in it back into your nice final icing. So always keep it separate in a separate bowl, which I don't have. Now, I don't know if you noticed that, but I did build my cake on a cardboard, which I always do. It's just better to transport it. It is so much easier to handle it if you do have to get it in and out of the refrigerator in between stages. It just really is the best to always build your cakes on cardboard. And because it's a crumb coat, it doesn't matter that this cake is showing through. It's really just sort of like, I don't know, like the primer when you're painting, right? It's just like an undercoat, and then the final icing goes over top. So it doesn't really matter what it looks like at this point. It's called a crumb coat because it's supposed to have crumbs in it. So that to me is a pretty straight looking cake. The top is perfectly smooth. I know that there's this thing on the internet right now going around where people are like icing it with a cardboard on top, then they're flipping it over and they're doing like this really weird thing. I haven't graduated to that yet, so if you guys are looking to do that style, you're gonna have to go to somebody else's channel because I haven't quite done that yet. I am so completely old school, and I love to teach you guys just really the simplest ways to do things and have them come out really great. So to me, this is a perfectly smooth-sided cake. I am going to pop it into the refrigerator for just about 5 or 10 minutes before I do my final icing. All right, now for our final icing, and then we can get to decorating. As you see, I have a habit of really plopping a lot on top, and then I sort of work that, and as you see, there's this excess that's wanting to fall off the sides. That then becomes my sides. It's just a technique that I sort of picked up over the years. It really just makes for faster icing, because when you're in a bakery setting and you have to crank out like 100 cakes a day, you really need to figure out how to be a little bit more efficient. And so this is the technique that works for me. If you guys want to give it a try, you probably will love it. All right, so now what do we do with this unsmooth sides? We've got a lot of air bubbles in here. Well, that's where the trusty blowtorch comes in. You guys know me and my blowtorch. Now, if you don't have a blowtorch, it's fine. Well, it's kind of not fine. Go buy a blowtorch. Everyone needs one. If you don't have a blowtorch, you can just do the same method, the same technique actually, by dipping your spatula in some really hot water. Obviously, you're going to want to wipe it dry before you put it on the cake. But the whole premise behind the blowtorch or the hot water is just to really warm up your spatula, which then in turn warms up this buttercream icing, and you get totally smooth sides. Watch this magic. And that was just one pass through. So you can see how quickly that works. You just don't want to get your spatula too hot, because then you're going to just melt your buttercream. So there's sort of like a fine line that you just have to play around with. There you have it. Every time you go to smooth the top, you want to make sure you get that excess buttercream off your spatula. One pass, wipe it clean. You guys wanted longer videos. Here's your longer video. Thumbs up if you made it to this point already. Oh my God, you talk too much. So there you go, guys. There's like a festive, it's sort of like an alternative from just like putting sprinkles on the sides of cakes. And I think it's really cool. And it's so simple to do. You only really need 3 tips and 3 colors to pull it off, but you could really do it any colors that you want, any designs that you want. And so let's just finish the top with some flowers that I have pre-made. They're in the freezer. If you guys haven't watched my how to make buttercream roses tutorial, you definitely want to check that out, because it really is very helpful. A lot of people have said how wonderful it has really helped them to finally get it on how to make buttercream roses. So then I'm just going to do a little happy birthday to me, and we're all done. there's something to be said about making your own birthday cake because you always know you're going to get what you want. So that's it, guys. I really do hope that this was a helpful tutorial. A little bit of a different design here today that I actually can't take credit for because I follow White Flour Cake Shop on Instagram and they have just such inspiring cakes, and so I sort of was inspired to do this design from them. If you want to check them out on Instagram, and if you're not following me on Instagram, why not? So there we have it. Happy birthday to me. Thanks for watching Gretchen's Bakery. As always, get all the best recipes at gretchensbakery.com, and I'll see you soon.
Oh yeah, and don't forget to go check out Haniella's awesome vanilla and walnut drippy birthday cake. Just click the link here and go direct to her channel. Be sure to tell her Gretchen's Bakery sent you, and if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do. I upload new videos every Thursday and Sunday, and I will love it to see you here with me every time. Check me out on Instagram if you do that sort of thing, and of course my Facebook page is hopping. I'm on there every day chatting with you guys. Alright, thanks again for watching. Happy baking, happy birthday, and well, just be happy.